Ethan Miller woke up every day before sunrise on a broken couch in a tiny basement apartment that smelled of damp concrete and old paint. The rent was cheap because no one else wanted it. He shared the space with silence, unpaid bills, and dreams he no longer spoke out loud. At 32, Ethan worked as a janitor in a downtown office building. Night shifts, minimum wage, no benefits. By the time most people arrived to start their day, he was already invisible again. Life hadn't always been this way. Years earlier, Ethan had been a promising community college student, working part-time and helping his mother pay bills. Then cancer took her slowly, cruelly, leaving behind hospital debt and an emptiness that swallowed everything else. School became impossible. Opportunities slipped away one by one. Friends moved on. Ethan stayed behind, holding on to memories and a stubborn sense of decency. Despite everything, one thing never left him: his kindness. Every morning after his shift, Ethan stopped by a small corner cafe, not to buy coffee. He couldn't afford it, but to warm his hands near the vent outside. The owner, Mrs. Rodriguez, noticed him weeks ago. She never asked questions. She'd quietly leave a cup of leftover coffee on the counter and pretend not to see him take it. Ethan always nodded in gratitude, embarrassed but thankful. One freezing evening, as snow began to fall hard and fast, Ethan noticed an older man sitting on the sidewalk near the bus stop. The man wore a thin jacket, his hands shaking uncontrollably. People passed by without slowing down. Some glanced. Most didn't. Ethan stopped. He didn't have spare money. He barely had enough for bus fare. But he took off his own coat, the only warm thing he owned, and wrapped it around the stranger's shoulders. "Sir, you okay?" Ethan asked. The man looked up, eyes watery, voice weak. "Haven't eaten today." Ethan hesitated only for a second. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the $5 bill he'd saved all week for groceries. He placed it gently in the man's hand. "Get something warm," Ethan said. "Please." That night, Ethan walked home shivering, his teeth chattering, his stomach empty, but his heart strangely calm. What Ethan didn't know was that the man on the sidewalk was named Robert Langford. Robert had once been a successful construction company owner. A series of bad investments, a messy divorce, and untreated depression had slowly destroyed his life. Pride kept him from asking for help. Shame kept him on the streets. That night, Ethan's kindness did something no shelter or charity had managed to do. It reminded Robert that he still mattered. The next morning, Robert checked himself into a shelter. 2 weeks later, with help, he reconnected with an old business partner. Slowly, painfully, he started rebuilding his life. Months passed. Ethan's life, meanwhile, grew harder. The building he cleaned cut staff. His hours were reduced. Some nights he skipped meals entirely. Still, he smiled at strangers. Still, he held doors open. Still, he gave what little he had. One afternoon, Ethan was called into the office manager's room. His heart sank. He expected the worst. Instead, a well-dressed man stood up and turned toward him. It was Robert. "I've been looking for you," Robert said, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved my life, and you didn't even know it." Ethan stood frozen, confused, embarrassed. Robert explained everything: the shelter, the recovery, the second chance. Then he slid an envelope across the desk. Inside was a job offer. Full-time. Fair pay. Training included. "But why me?" Ethan asked quietly. Robert smiled. "Because when I had nothing, you gave me everything you had, your kindness. And I want to build something with people like you." Ethan accepted the job not because of the money, but because for the first time in years someone truly saw him. Life didn't magically become perfect. There were still struggles. Still long days. Still doubts. But Ethan moved into a small studio apartment with sunlight in the mornings. He started taking evening classes again. He volunteered at the shelter where Robert once stayed, offering warm meals and warmer words.